Let's get started with part 6. I am moving on to telephoto lenses, or also known as standard telephoto lenses. Your standard telephoto is 200mm to 300mm. These lenses tend to be bigger than a short telephoto, but they offer you a much narrower field of view and allow you to focus on things that are farther away, by offering you a much higher magnification value. Before we continue any further, let's take a look at this telephoto example. The more telephoto we get, the less of the image is going to be in focus. But why, you're probably asking? Let me put these lines across this image so I can illustrate what's going on. You can't move these lines left, right, or up and down. All you can do is move them apart. Real life reality is three-dimensional. Photography is two-dimensional. Because of this, it is not possible to have everything in the frame in focus. Stopping down the lens will reduce blurriness, but not bring everything in the focus. Understanding this will make it much easier to get a blurry background or eliminate one. Keeping in mind we are trying to capture 3 dimensions, but photography is two-dimensional. This photo was taken wide open at f1.2, resulting in sharp focus throughout the entire image, since everything was kept on the same image plane as the background, resulting in sharp focus throughout the frame. Now, moving things off the same image plane, you can now see how I got an extremely blurry background. When your subject is further away from the background, it will appear more blurred. And when your subject is much closer to the background, it will appear less blurry. Now, back to the subject of talking about 200mm lenses and 300mm lenses. The 200mm and 300mm are very popular with photojournalists, portrait photographers, indoor sports photographers, and occasionally wildlife photography. 200mm is not enough to photograph something small and really far away, like a bird. But it's perfectly good, say, photographing something maybe 10 cars length away from you. As you can see in this example, it allows you to stand back, out of the way, while still being able to capture the image. As you can see in this other example, it allows you to get these nice candid photos without disturbing your subject. Portrait photographers enjoy these because of their double compression and double background blur. Now, 300mm, they offer more compression and more background blur. Most photojournalists and portrait photographers prefer 200mm because 300mm lenses with the f2 aperture tend to be very heavy and very bulky in comparison to a 200mm f2.8 lens. However, the most common variety of 300mm lenses come in f3.6 aperture. They don't have a very wide maximum aperture, but they are much cheaper and lighter than 200mm lenses at f2.8. I personally don't have a 200mm at f2.8. The images I've been showing you were actually with a 210mm f4. The advantage over a 200mm versus a 300mm zoom is the constant bright maximum aperture versus the 300mm lens, which tends to have a very dark maximum aperture of a 5.6. The 200mm lenses are generally preferred over the 300mm lenses because they offer a much wider maximum aperture and a constant maximum aperture. This is something a compact 300mm lens can simply not provide. Get ready for part 7.